Hello, and welcome to Building Loved Businesses. This is the show where we explore what it takes to build companies that are loved by employees, customers, and the communities that you find them in, even if the rest of the world isn't quite familiar with them yet. I'm your host, Nathan Schock, and I'm joined today by David Dietz, the CEO of Preference Employment Solutions, an employee-owned company based in Fargo, North Dakota. And I'm really excited for this conversation. David started almost 30 years ago in the business, doing payroll part-time. And today he leads a growing team that is becoming known not just for the diverse services that they provide, but also for building a unique culture and an employee-owned company. We're going to have a great discussion today. I'm really excited for it. So, David, welcome.
Hey, thank you very much. Glad to be here, Nathan.
Great. David, let's go back to the beginning. You said it's almost 30 years ago that you started here. Just give us a picture. Tell us the origin story. How did that come about?
Yeah, what we have going on today, it's been a long time ago, but it used to be a family business. My parents, both mother and then father, actually co-founded Preference Employment Solutions back in 1987. And so, I was, I guess, in high school and college when they were getting things off the ground, taking the risk, working hard, and you know, it is with family businesses in America. There's a lot of them. Not always does the second generation or the next generation develop a love, a passion for what the generation above them does. Well, I did. I couldn't help it. I just thought what mom and dad were doing was pretty cool, and I did go attend college, attained a degree in accounting, but I knew by the end of my senior year, I didn't want to do accounting full time. No regrets. Glad I got the degree, but it's not something I want to do day to day. And about the same time, and then shortly after graduating, I did start an accounting job, assisting a CFO and a finance director with some, call it numbers grunt work. But, my dad had reached out more than once saying, hey, if you'd ever like to join the small family business, and, we have an opening for sales, and would you want to do that? And so I certainly did not say yes in the beginning, but I thought about it for several months, and then I would find myself, home at my mom and dad's for Sunday dinner after church kind of thing, and see staffing and recruiting magazines laying around their house, and well, guess what? I was reading them. They would draw my attention. I thought, well, you flip through the pages and you go, well, this is cool, and I like how they help vet candidates really well for smart businesses, and that I fell in love with the concept of temporary staffing too, where a company could get extra help, but only when they need it, and not incur payroll liability. So anyway, I just enjoyed it, and I still do. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here.
That's great. So you fell in love with the family business. You're right. That's a tough thing to do at times, is to hand that off to the next generation. And as parents, I'm sure they're happy to do that, right? They're proud to see a kid want to get involved in the business. Walk me through those early days and some of those jobs, whether it was payroll or sales or things that really helped you learn about the business, and have helped you become the leader you are today.
Yeah, I did most jobs in the organization, not everything completely, but most. Yeah, as you mentioned, Nathan, I did payroll, processing the payroll, those first few years while I was still in college, actually. And then, when I joined full-time about a year after college, I was at the front desk. I was taking phone calls, directing traffic. It was a very, very busy office, and still is today. And so there's a lot to do at that front lobby area. So when I was a kind of a kid, I was doing that. And then, I got into recruiting. And many of our staff to this day are recruiters. They each have their own area of specialization, their own niche. They've each developed their own expertise, but that's what I was doing back then. And then then I really fell in love with the next role. And that was the sales. I enjoyed doing staffing sales, and business is fun. It's kind of a game. It's maybe a hobby to some of us more than work. Being able to honestly just go out and get to know these clients and prospective clients and just learn about their business. I was interviewing them, right? Just with show up at their office or plant with a curious mind, and just so enjoy just learning how each business worked, and how there's so much depth to each industry that our customers are in, and really enjoyed that. It was several years later, I guess I became, VP. And then the end of 2012, I was, I think, 39 years old at the time. My parents retired, and I took the helm, and that's when the disruption really started.
Yeah. I can completely relate on the sales piece, right? In my role, there are a few things I enjoy more than going and learning about a new business, right? And a lot of times, as I get excited, they get excited, right? As we're just talking about what would it look like to grow that business. So sales resonates with me as well. But now, so fast forward, right? You said you took the helm, and I believe it was about at this point too that you became an ESOP, right? So walk us through that transition and what led to that and what has come from.
Yeah, so technically took the helm January 1st of 2013, and it was just the previous 2-3 years before then when we formed an ESOP trust, Employee Stock Ownership Plan. And how did that come about? I was in my mid-30s by then. I knew that I enjoyed the business. I wanted to continue working in what was then the family business. Has not been a family business for quite some time now, as you now know. But I heard about this concept. I heard about it from a few people in my network in Fargo, North Dakota, and I just thought, wow, that is really cool. Just think of what that life could be like. If you enjoy your job, enjoy your industry, your profession, your business, and you show up for work every day, and everyone on your left and everyone on your right, has a financial stake in the company with you. Wow, think of the possibilities with that. And so then I began, just studying it more and learning about the beauty of, what I believe is the beauty of shared capitalism, and the empowerment, giving everyone in your organization a chance to truly think and act like a business owner and have fun. It can be a more engaging and exciting life than the other traditional way.
Yeah. I think I talk to so many business owners, and so many of them ask the question, how can I get my people to take more ownership, right? How can I get them to think like an owner and not just an employee? And the ESOP is certainly, gosh, man, that looks attractive. But also, I know that just changing the structure doesn't always change the attitudes and the mindset, right? So how did you accomplish that early on to use that ESOP in order to change the culture?
Yeah, really good question, Nathan. So, I'll be vulnerable with you. It didn't happen overnight, and it didn't happen right away. One could argue, looking back now, it didn't happen fast enough either.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy.
Never
It
does.
was a huge culture shift, and I think one of the mistakes that I had made in the beginning is we closed the deal, we did the transaction. My parents were essentially paid for the sale of the company, the employee stock ownership plan, purchased the company, and then we all just kind of got back to work.
Yeah.
So what resulted from that, to some degree, there was some mystery in the air, right? People thought, well, this is exciting, and now what? I thought we were gonna talk about this, and not that we didn't at all, but it wasn't enough. And so after a couple of years or so of that state of our culture, I guess I finally just kind of just decided one morning, okay, this has got to change. And so a couple of the other employee owners had spoke up too. They were very appreciative and excited for what we had started at the time, but thought, we need to embrace this. Let's learn about it. So we just began doing that. Began communicating back in those years about what is an employee stock ownership plan, what is it not, what does it mean for each of us, and how can it be a wealth builder for each of ourselves and our respective families, but also, the culture piece is so key. And so I was lucky to have, not only a few, but several employee owners back in those years who are still with me today that helped embrace it. And we went to conferences, we read books, we learned about what we had going on. And it probably took, probably at least 3 years, maybe even 5 years for it to fully gain traction.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm always reminded of how slow culture change typically happens, right? I saw something recently that in the early days of Chick-fil-A, certainly a company we would think of, even a big company with a pretty healthy corporate culture, that when Dan Cathy decided, hey, we want to change this now to say, we want people to say, it'd be my pleasure, right? That one simple phrase. And when they asked him, how long did it take for everyone in the company to adopt that? And he said, well, at first, lots of our franchisees just said, we're not doing that. And it took more than 2 years just to have that small cultural shift. So I'm like you, I can get impatient, right? And I want change to happen fast. But we say culture is more of a crock pot than a microwave, right? It just
Yeah.
it just goes slow. So tell me today now, David, what does preference look like today? I know there's a mix of services, but just talk us through what the company looks like today.
Yeah, you mentioned the word diversification earlier, and we definitely are more diversified business than before. We basically have four small businesses within a small local business to Fargo, but we're still small. There's 19 of us internal employees, a very busy, lean and mean 19 member team. So the high level, I guess the first department, which is how we were founded back in 1987, is a professional search business. We do a fair amount of executive recruiting, executive search. These are key hires, right, for our clients. We're helping the smaller to medium-sized, even larger businesses, some nonprofits, variety of industries. They need help, finding and vetting really good talent for very key like leadership roles in their business. So that's the first department that we have. We have a commercial labor staffing division as well. We do a ton of manufacturing staffing, a little bit of construction, some warehouse logistics, and there's a big demand for that, and we enjoy doing it. Our team that does that is very good at it. So we do a lot of that on both temporary contract staffing as well as a lot of full-time job placement. Similar deal for the offices in town. We do a lot of receptionist, secretarial, bookkeeping, customer service staffing. We have a small team that niches just in that. And the fourth part of our business is quite a bit different, where all they do is human resources outsourcing. Yeah, it's really a lot of fun. We're attracting more and more small, medium-sized businesses in the region that basically want to cost share an HR department. And so there's some economic benefits to that, as well as just the value of the expertise that our HR team brings to all these clients that we serve.
What led this diversification, these moves into different offerings?
Yeah, to begin with, we want to scale, right? I don't think we're treating our business like a lifestyle business. I'll admit, maybe once in a while that sounds like fun, where you enjoy having good business and you just show up 8 to 5, and the paycheck is a little bit better than some others, and you just kind of enjoy that life. That's not what we have going on here. We aspire to continue scaling our business, to continue growing it. We have a lot of employee owners in our team that are, pretty hungry for uh, accomplishments and successes and things like that. And so, I guess, let's see, where was I going with that? We, I'm sorry, can you
Yeah.
repeat the question?
So what led the diversification, right? Like what said,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, let's go into that and now that, and yeah, just maybe talk us
right.
through that thinking.
Yeah, so aspirations for more growth, but also really, really paying attention to our culture. We kind of have two paths we can take to do both. One is to open up multiple locations throughout maybe other states, the Midwest, North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, maybe beyond. We know that's an option, not too excited over that. Wouldn't rule it out 100%, but that's not what we're striving for. And so to fuel our growth aspiration, we realized that, hey, we could be a one office powerhouse and just diversify our services. And so instead of opening up more physical locations geographically, we can grow our service offerings in one geographic location.
Yeah.
So that's what we're up to. And it is good to have diverse revenue streams anyway. I was just visiting with someone at an event yesterday that used to work for Coca-Cola for many years, and he shared something with me I never knew, and that only about 10% of their product sales are pop. They have bottled water, they have these Gatorades, they have all this whole line of things, and so they're still in business, kind of doing what they're doing, but they're very much diversified out of pop, and so I think we're just mindful of strategies like that at Preference.
Yeah. And has every attempt to diversify worked out? Have there been times where it didn't quite pan out the way you wanted?
Yeah, yeah. In fact, we're actually only 1 for 3 right now. Yeah, that's painful, but it's good too. The third one really turned out extremely well. But yeah, we started some years back. We started a consulting arm of our business called Advisory Solutions, and was having some fun with it. We had some interest from clients on how to build a good culture, how to retain employees, how to hire smart, things like that. And as I still look back, the idea was okay, but I think one thing we learned from that is it was pretty difficult to scale. And so anything that we want to, any new endeavors moving forward, we only want to do it if we can actually scale it. That makes it worth our time and company resources more. Um, we had another flop. Some years back, we also started a healthcare staffing department, and honestly, we had some success with it that first 1 or 2 years. It went from zero to, if not 60 miles an hour, it was doing at least 30 or 40 or 50 miles an hour within a year, and the gross profit was increasing, quite nicely. But one of the mistakes that I had made with that is, some of the people that I had hired to help lead that department just didn't fit our core values, and so that goes back to culture, right? You can have a really good business idea, you can find validated demand from clients, and all the other ingredients of that recipe can be there, but if you don't have the people that fit your culture and have similar values and a aligned value system, it just doesn't work. So that's how that turned out.
Yeah, yeah, and it sounds like you've taken some important lessons from those, right? Right, those learning moments, right? Not flops, learning moments, because that's quite often how we learn the best. And we learn what fits by experiencing what doesn't. So what?
Sure.
Yeah. So what would you say? What are some of the? You mentioned a few, but what other really chief learnings have come out of those that didn't go the way you wanted?
Yeah. You know, I'll kind of start in reverse gear. The first lesson I learned is, if you're in the game of business, especially in a leadership role, just take as calculated risks as you can. You still got to take risks, and so when you get knocked down, you know what? You get knocked down. I think everyone gets knocked down throughout their life, no matter what. And if you're not getting knocked down, maybe you're not sticking your neck out enough and trying other things. I think what I've learned through all the bruises and bumps and scrapes and wounds that we've incurred is you still got to take some risks. I think for me personally, really making more of a plan than I did before. No, you can't plan everything, and of course the old saying, plans don't always work, but you still need a starting plan. And I'm not so sure I did that as well as I could have in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, those are important lessons, right? Is to do that work ahead of time, because I know a lot of us entrepreneurs, we see an opportunity and some early successes, and it's like, okay, pour gasoline on it,
Yeah.
right? And now, for you to be able to say, okay, if we're going to diversify, there has to be an opportunity to scale, and it has to be a culture fit, right? I think
Yes.
those are things that we don't think often enough about. I was listening to an interview with one of the biggest venture capitalists out in Silicon Valley, and they asked him why he was staying in startups and not acquisitions, which a lot of the others have either acquisitions or growth. And he said, well, it's hard to change culture. And he said, I'd rather be at the front end of something, because you have a better chance to shape culture in a startup, which is a little bit like diversifying into new areas. So, earlier when we talked, you said that culture was your main focus after you did the ESOP. And it took a while, right? It took a while to build a culture of ownership. But how else do you think about culture? What are the key components of the culture?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think a very important question that needs to be have light shine on it, because I don't know about you, Nathan, but in my experience, man, you have all these businesses. They're trying to figure out what the definition of culture is, and I'm not so sure we're all on the same page.
Oh,
Not that we need to be, but
yeah.
to some cultures, the old beer at 4 o'clock Fridays and ping pong tables in the back hallway and all these fun and games, and that's fine. We do a little bit of that too.
Yeah, I think there was this. It's funny, right? Because I just talked about Silicon Valley. When people started hearing, oh, they have daycare in their building, and they have restaurants where they can eat whatever they want, and they have napping pods, right? Businesses started saying, oh, well, we can let the work be miserable as long as we add all these other little perks, right?
Yeah.
And that's not culture.
No, those are maybe some version of, let's just be honest, they're employee benefits, right?
Yes.
And the culture that I see fewer business leaders really embrace, because it's hard, it's the hard stuff, is what I would, in my head, I define it as true organizational health. True org health. It's the Patrick Lencioni stuff, the 5 dysfunctions of a team, and other authors and books on things like that, where it's the hard stuff for a leader to embrace and lead your team through. It's how to model, demonstrate, and coach others on your team to have good conflict. What does healthy conflict look like? What does bad, distasteful conflict look like, or disrespectful conflict? How do we build trust with each other? Like, really build trust. And in my experience, and I think I've seen this in other good organizations too, is they want a good team, and everybody on the team wants to be a good team, but they don't always know how a true healthy team functions. And so, when back in 2013, for those first few years when I was at the helm, I was very thankful to have others on our team, other good leaders like Tanya Cook, Corey Holland, and others that recognize that, hey, let's learn how a true, well-functioning, productive, and happy team looks like, and then strive towards that. And that's the hard work. That's true culture, but that's the hard work that some businesses don't do.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about that. about how you build that culture and that team. I think one of the keys that you already mentioned is distinguishing productive conflict from unproductive conflict. And because we're humans, there's always going to be one or the other, right? And probably some of both. But I see over and over companies who, because they don't have the productive conflict in the meeting, right, where they're really having it around ideas and strategies, and they have the meeting after the meeting, right, where everybody's quiet, and then after the meeting we go out in the hall and say, can you believe what that guy, I mean, what, that's stupid, that'll never work.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that happens.
Yeah. So how do you, but still, especially for different behavioral styles of people, even productive conflict is difficult, right? So how do you encourage that among your team?
Yeah, well, I'll start with this. So, truly vulnerability, and I think, yeah, I kind of reached a point, years back where I was willing to be vulnerable, and that was tough too. As a leader, you really need to, put your any ego aside, and forget any pride you might have. Just recognize that, hey, I'm not perfect. I have flaws. I have weaknesses along with my strengths. And you know what? I'm not the smartest one in the room. Want to really hire people smarter than yourself, and it's okay to just admit that. And then from there, I think maybe what helped push us forward successfully in the years past was just modeling it really. I remember for a few years in our monthly staff meetings, we call them communication meetings, uh, and for quite a few years, we would have a segment to that meeting where we would just open up to talk about mistakes, and I was leading that. I would say, well, the last month, here's something I did, and it didn't turn out well. In fact, it was kind of a disaster. And here's what the customer said, and to what they heard from me, or whatever it was. And so I was pretty intentional on that for quite a while. And I just want to show the team that, hey, get real. We're all human. We all make mistakes. Now the key is just to learn from it. But move on. Get over it. If you make a big mistake, learn from it. And then I would ask people that as they made mistakes, I would ask them, almost beg them for a while there, to please share that with other people on their team. Now that's really hard, but there again, just another next level example to get everyone like, hey, it's okay. And then I think what that maybe help do in our culture is just help people relax that, hey, if I really screw up, it's highly unlikely I'm going to lose my job. Now, sure, if it's unethical or they stole money or something, yeah, they're going to lose their job. But we all mess up,
Right.
and there again, help your peers learn from that as well as you, and just get over it, move on.
Yeah. I love the story. Could be made up. It's probably a fable, but where the employee comes into his supervisor, and he just made a mistake that cost the company $1 million, and he's tendering his resignation, right? Said, obviously you're going to get rid of me. And the supervisor says, get rid of you? You're kidding? I just spent $1 million on your education.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
this idea that a lot of times we do learn best from our mistakes, but like you said, it's a fine balance, because we don't want to dwell on them, but we do need to learn from them.
Yeah. Yep. Just learn from it and move on. I think another maybe example that on occasion over the years were, as one of the leaders in our organization, I just would admit to people that, I really suck at this. I kind of know where my strengths are in our business, and I do try to stay in my lane on those. But the things that I'm not good at around here, which there are things I'm not good at around here, like, I don't care. I'll just admit it. And anyway, just another example where just trying to create that feeling in the air that, hey, it's okay to be real with other people, And then hopefully that leads to other things, from resolving conflict, building trust with one another. We're not here to try to impress our peers. We're just here to get work done really well and help our clients very well and have success, you know.
Yeah, and then of course, the one of the impacts on your culture, one of the influences of your culture is that ESOP, right? That you are sitting next to not just an employee, but a co-owner of the business. And now I understand you've become such a believer in this that you're helping other companies become an ESOP, right? So just, talk about that in terms of the influence you've seen it have on your culture, and now your desire to help others, institute an ESOP of their own.
Yeah, I have had the pleasure and honor really of helping a few companies make the decision to sell partially or fully to an ESOP trust. I speak at ESOP conferences, so I have several times. In fact, again last week on a panel, and we talked about culture, communication, ESOP education, things like that, and yeah, what the employee ownership does, and please know, a good leader with a good business can still drive a culture of ownership without sharing equity with your people, right?
Yeah.
That can still be done.
Yeah.
However, it sure is a bonus when you can share equity with others, at least at some level, because it's real, it's more tangible. And when employee owners get that annual stock statement, it says their name on it, the date, and then the number of shares they own, and then the stock price per share, and the whole math in that. And then if we're all working hard and the business is growing and the stock price keeps going up each year, well, hey, this is a lot of fun, right?
Yeah.
And so what has surprised me very favorably is that most people, I would say not all, but a good majority of the population out there, in my observation, will get it. Even if they didn't grow up with it, their mother or father was not a business owner, they didn't have a close friend or relative that ran a business, that's okay. We can expose people to that. And most people will eventually, grasp that. And like I kind of jokingly say, eventually start drinking the Kool-Aid,
Yeah.
But everybody wins. The employee owner benefits, obviously. It's has potential to be a wonderful financial benefit for them and their family. But the other half of the benefit is that culture, like you're asking about, and so I feel like it's kind of, in my personal view, kind of like a better life when you can, you drive to work maybe every Monday through Friday at 8 o'clock, and you're pulling up to your plant or your office building, and you're like, hey, you're driving in and you think, hey, I own part of this, and it means something to me because it's tangible. I have a piece of the pie. And when people can grasp that, and if they're empowered to participate with decision making, empowered to innovate, how can we help this customer more, better, different, whatever?
Yeah.
How can we save money by streamlining this process? How can we implement new tech to, create some labor efficiencies? How can we, make increase the speed of our service? You get it. So it's a lot of fun. It's fun for me, kind of selfishly when you work somewhere where everyone has those types of mindset.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I can feel it. So now, you one of the things you mentioned there, I think is a good segue into maybe one of the last things I want to talk about. You talk about tech-enabled efficiencies, right? And there's a lot of that at the extreme edge today, right? Where from an HR perspective, that more and more now companies are trying to get rid of the human interaction, right, between AI and automation, and I think you have a little bit different take on that. Obviously, you said we want to capture those efficiencies where we can, but you're still all in on human connection. And we see this across industries today, that we have 1/20th of the human interaction we did just 20 years ago, right? When you think of ATMs and grocery self-checkout lanes and Netflix instead of going to the movies and Amazon.com instead of going to local stores, we're engineering more and more human connection out of our lives. So how does preference think about that, and why is human connection still central to what you do and how you run your business?
Yeah. A couple short responses for you on that. I'm really blessed because I've got a number of people on our team that are way better at tech than I am. And they're embracing it. We're embracing technology here at Preference, and because we need to. We don't want to be left behind in the dust and be too many years late to embrace a new tool, right? So, but what I think our team is seeing in our industry, the human resources outsourcing profession, the recruiting and staffing profession, is that as businesses adapt some of this technology that does create some efficiencies, but pushes out the human interaction. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. And so we're very mindful in our organization on what do we adapt, what do we not adapt. I feel like we are at some crossroads where we need to look forward and consider trying new tech options, but also approaching it fast but slow. Going after it, but maybe testing it out and really thinking through what is the experience we're creating for the people we serve. So each industry is unique. The HR and recruiting profession, it sure seems like to us there's irritations and disappointments that are being created out there in the world when the tech is not adapted the right way. We hear stories of black boxes where job seekers are applying for jobs. They'll apply for 50 jobs in a day because you can by just clicking on different job boards and stuff nowadays, but they never hear back. I had a call from a job seeker about 3 weeks ago, and he literally shared with me that he applied for more than 50 jobs at 50 different employers and heard back from 2. And so now his perception of those other 48 or so businesses is not good. There's some employer brand issues that are being created there, whether it's recognized or not. And then other people just get frustrated because they just don't hear back from employers.
Yeah, those are examples of how we can become so reliant on the tech, right? It allows us to do more, but if it comes at the expense of human connection and our brand, now we got problems.
Yeah, and I think every business has to know what their core values are, like truly know what they are and not, and then stick to them. So we have 5 core values at Preference. Our team of employee owners created them together about 9 years ago. And one of the 5 is serving people through relationship. And we really mean it 9 years later, and why is that important to us? I think it creates more job satisfaction for our team, but also it just works. In our profession, it works. It may not be necessary in some other industries, but what that really means to us is it kind of forces our team to understand our clients' needs better. And if the more we understand what their needs are and why, we can just help them out better. So being relationship driven makes a difference.
And that's so key there, David. I just want to key on that for a minute before we move on, is to say what's fascinating to me, right, is when you create those values, right, that takes time, investment, discussion, right? But now, having made that decision, it makes subsequent decisions easier, right? Because now, right, I don't have to spend a lot of time weighing a certain decision. If it goes against one of our core values, I know it's out of bounds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like another example, one of our 5 is being genuine and authentic. And so the kind of people we hire here and keep here are people like that. And what's interesting is, instead of just emailing a customer with some follow-up communication over something they needed, yeah, email is a good tool. We get it. We use it like everyone else. But when we pick up the phone and talk to people or stop out of their place of business for just a short, productive meeting to, follow up with those we're serving on what we're doing, wow, it's impactful. We just accomplish a lot with our customers that way.
Yeah. We say email is for confirmation, not communication. So let me just now, to kind of wrap things up here, David. As you look forward, what's next for Preference? Where are you going from here? You mentioned that this isn't a lifestyle business, right? This is, you guys want to grow and you want to serve more people. So what does the road ahead look like?
Yeah. This is the fun stuff. Without maybe revealing any competitive secrets or anything, I would say definitely more diversification. And that diversification is and will be driven by just listening to our clients. Because of everything from demographics in this country, birth rate, changing, the boomers retiring, labor workforce participation rate. There's some macro things that have been going on for a few years already in America. As those things continue, that's going to change some of the things in the minds of our clients and some of their challenges as well. And then you look at how the technology, like we were just referencing, is changing human resources in some ways. It's changing recruiting in some ways. So all these things, when you all mix them up together in a pot, there's change happening and with our clients' businesses. And so I feel like a business like Preference has a really good opportunity right now to observe that and listen to what the customers want and adapt and build out the next thing that they want. And so that's where we're going. More organic growth, doubling down on what we currently do. I don't see our four service lines or profit centers going away, but we need to change with the times along with that. And also, we've acquired two companies, two small organizations in the past, and I wouldn't rule that out either as the years go by. If there were, some businesses for sale that are in the realm of the workforce and human resources space, I wouldn't. We're not shopping right now, but I just wouldn't rule anything like that out as the years go by.
Got it. Yeah. And then what about for you? Where will you be focusing your time and energy for this next phase of growth?
Moving forward, more and more of my time will be truly focused on Preference. I think throughout one's life, all of us may go through a year or two of life from when you're in 20s to when you retire where you have some distractions. And I've been challenged with some distractions the last couple of years of my life. Those are about behind me. And so what I'm going to do is focus, doubling down, just focusing on Preference. But that means saying no to some other opportunities that come up, right?
Yeah.
It's really about Preference. I intend to be here till I retire, and scale an employee-owned company.
Yeah. Good. If in light of that, if you could go back 29 years and give a piece of advice to that guy starting part-time in payroll, what would you tell yourself?
Live the life you choose. There are so many ways to make a living in America nowadays, right? I think generations ago, most of us were agrarian, before our economy kind of developed, the Industrial Revolution and then everything after that, the last 100 or so years. So it's beautiful. There's just so many ways people can make a living in America. And so I think all of us have an opportunity, no matter what our age, to explore, find something you're passionate for, and then apply your energy towards that. And I guess the old saying, if you really love what you do, you'll never work another day in your life. So that's what I try to model for my kids and anyone else that I can help out.
That's great. Yeah. Well, David, this has really been inspiring. Thank you for what I mean, you modeled here what you talked about. Thank you for your vulnerability, for your insights, and for these leadership lessons. It's clear that what you do has been baked into Preference Employment Solutions, and I'm really thankful that you chose to spend some time here with us. For people who want to connect with you or stay in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, people can just give me a call. I answer my telephone. That's maybe more rare these days, but I answer my phone. So if people wanna get a hold of David Dietz, you just call Preference Employment Solutions, and I will talk to you. Yeah.
There you go. That must be going back to those old days working the front desk, huh? That you got used to answering the phone.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Okay.
But so appreciate all you guys do at your fine organization at Locals
Yeah.
Lotus, and just so appreciate our team of employee owners here at Preference.
That's great. Yeah. Well, you heard it, listeners. Give David a call. And also, if you're thinking about how to build a love business, I hope you got something out of this. One where you can see what happens when people are empowered, accountable, and connected. I think the story of Preference Employment Solutions can really give you a roadmap. Make sure you subscribe on your favorite streaming platform so you don't miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Nathan Schock, and this has been Building Loved Businesses.